Okay, Mr. Reyes, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, I graduated from EPC. Actually, let me start over. I graduated from Burgess High School in 1998. I attended NMSU and UTEP, and I graduated from EPCC with my associate's degree in liberal arts with honors in education and in psychology.
So, what are your plans for the district?
Well, right now we're looking at, with the whole budget issue going on, we're looking at quite a deficit. A lot of the constituents in my area are worried that the district is overspending in unnecessary areas. For example, they passed a bond in 2007 for $230 million, but yet not one cent went towards our educational system. They went all towards reconstruction or renovation or construction of new buildings within the district.
That's because bonds can only go towards brick and mortar projects.
Yeah, but right now what we're looking at is that they're spending $12 million in Alamo Elementary School, which has been closed for quite some time already, and they're going to be closing down Zavala and Schuster Elementary. So, instead of having everything out in the open as far as transparency goes, the district has lacked on that with its constituents, not explaining that to them. Mm-hmm. That money, could be used towards something, more constructive than opening up a school while closing down 2 schools and laying off 116 teachers at the same time. Anything else?
People always have a reason for getting involved in politics. Generally, they were either really inspired by a charismatic type of person, or in most cases, somebody upset them, somebody made them angry or bothered them, or something they felt like there was some kind of compelling situation or event that got them into it. So for you to jump into this race, what was that situation for you?
Actually, 1998 is when I got my first, real taste of being involved in the educational system. I had filed petitions in '98 with Burgess High School. It started out as a class project, and our principal had moved from our middle school to our high school and implemented a policy which would close off locker usage to students in high school, like they did in middle school. During that time, a lot of the parents in middle schools were concerned that their children were going to be affected, with back problems or fire hazards with the backpacks being in the aisles of their classrooms. So I took on the project for my government class to see what it would be like to petition the district and find out how we can get a policy changed. During that time, the only thing that was actually accomplished was that the district allowed for if somebody were to present a note, say from a doctor or a parent requesting the lockers, they can use them at that time. The main issue at that time was that the district was not utilizing what it had. Taxpayers paid for those lockers and they expected them to be used at that time. Health concern was the second reason. And I had always wanted to get involved in somehow with the district, and I continue to do so, via letters to the newspaper, and parents would always tell me run for district, run for school board, run for school board. I was more involved in my education at the time and working than anything. So right now I feel like I'm more able to get into something that I feel passionate about.
What do you feel about the budget cuts at the state legislature?
Well, the district's known about it since '06, I believe, which was right before they passed '07. They've already cut about $43 million from the budget. That was according to one of the chief of finances. So the district's known about it. They knew it was coming, and yet they failed to prepare for it. And that's one of the main issues. I'll start to look at what our main issues are as far as making cuts from the top or cutting teachers.
In what ways did they fail to prepare for it? You understand that the legislature they meet every 2 years. Yeah. So in '06, if by what you say is accurate, they were informed in '06. Well, the legislature has since changed, 3 times since then? 3 times since then?
Well, it's not as much as not preparing, but I'm saying as much as watching where their spending goes towards. Like they just laid up 116 teachers last week, and yet they still passed a renovation agreement to do the Northeast tennis courts for $100,000. What is that telling our constituents in our districts?
Wasn't that project part of the bond?
No.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of, no. And it's not even, it's part of the city, it's not part of the district. So they're helping out, other areas in town with saying that, oh, well, recreation is important, which it is important. Then, why won't they cut from the top as far as the assistant superintendents that are in there right now?
So what would you propose at the school board level to help alleviate that situation with the spending cuts from the state legislature?
Well, right now, with the state legislature, I understand that the '07 bond was supposed to go towards building the new multi-purpose rooms for the elementary schools, which is, by Texas law now they have to do that. But as far as renovating buildings that we really don't need, as far as like elementary school, they want to pave. Also, Houston is a big issue with the constituents. They're worried that the district's going to pave over their soccer fields to make room for parking, but yet they've already been given the okay to park in the neighborhoods, and the church in the area has already given them an okay to park in their parking lot. So that's unnecessary spending. So we need to look at what's most important for our districts, and I think that what's most important is the children's education and not cutting teachers or librarians.
So where would you cut?
I would say look at the top. We have our superintendent, and we have about 13 additional assistant superintendents under them who also have their assistants as well. We need to start looking at jobs that are I would see it as our district needs to have the superintendent, which we have, plus maybe three additional assistant superintendents for elementary, middle school, and high school. But as far as like the transportation and all that, those superintendents are there and getting paid $80,000, $79,000, $200,000 a year, and that's a lot compared to a teacher's salary of about $40,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. So, are there specific areas where there's administrators that you feel is unnecessary?
I do at this time, because we're supposed to be giving the power to our principals to deal with situations, and yet they're just passing them off onto other avenues like the juvenile justice department. For example, kids get in a fight. Back in the days we used to go to in-school suspension. Now we're sending them to court. Which is becoming more cost-effective towards parents and towards the district as well.
That actually leads me to a follow-up question. Is it necessary, in light of the costs, for EPISD to have its own law enforcement?
Honestly, right now, if we were to say no to that answer, then we would, of course, get more from the El Paso Police Department. It's already said that they're lacking in the police department, so we have to look at what our economy is capable of doing right now with the city, with Fort Bliss, and with our school district. I feel it's beneficial, but I also feel that at the same time, is it that big of a problem to where we actually need our own police department? So that would be the question I would ask the board.
So what do you think?
As of right now, like I said, I think that the school is not handling the problem. The schools are not handling their own problems. They're passing them off onto the police force or to the juvenile justice department, which is something that we need to start understanding. That we need to start looking at that at a local level, keeping it in the schools, and like I said, putting them in school suspension, or even suspending the children for a time being.
What kind of budgets have you managed, and what size?
Budgets have I managed as far as?
Yeah, think about it. If you're going to be a school board member, you're going to be part of a group of people that will be managing a multi-million-dollar budget. So people are going to want to know. In fact, most of our tax dollars go to, it's the biggest majority of our tax dollars goes to school boards, more so than the state and county and and city. So people are obviously going to want to know what your budget management skills are like. So what kind of budgets have you worked with?
I guess when I was with the Viva El Paso board, I was going to be in Viva El Paso on the board there. We managed our budget pretty well there. I actually found some inconsistencies with the budget that dealt with our president and treasurer, where we had unaccounted tickets that were worth thousands of dollars that weren't being included in the budget, that were basically not paid for. So I've spent a year on the board with Viva El Paso.
What do you feel is your biggest asset?
Right now, just the fact that I'm running solo. I'm not one of the constituents that has, or one of the candidates that has, backing from the commissioner or past board president. I have a voice that I want my constituents to know that it's there for them, and that's what I feel. I don't have much influence in my background except for what the people in the district want.
How do you handle conflict?
Well, you have to look at both sides of the issue. As far as conflict goes, it's not as big as a problem for me. in speech and debate for 7 years, pretty much, and I've learned to look at, the situation and kind of look at different avenues. I'm more open to listening to what other people have to say versus, deciding this is my way and that's the only way it's going to be.
The city and county are examining the creation of a parks authority. Taxpayers already pay for recreational facilities in the form of their taxes that go to school districts, pay for playgrounds and all that equipment and stuff there. Then paying for parks and at the city and county level would essentially be paying for the same service twice. Some people have advocated for a policy of having the school boards open their recreational facilities for public use, since the taxpayers already pay for them. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, right now the city, we have an after school program with the district. It's a contract through the city and through the EPISD, and right now we have in El Paso, I believe it's about 12 or 13 school sites that have after school programs that are free to any student that attends that school. So I think that with the multi-purpose rooms, a lot of them are being rented out. Actually, I know one of them that's being rented out to outsiders. That's what Houston was also asking, is if they could use the park or their soccer fields for the community. I feel that if they were to rent it out, it would be more revenue for the district or for the EPISD. So
the taxpayers would have to pay for it again?
Well, no. I mean, you have to understand is that it's like any if you wanted to use, for example, let's see, would be a good example. Right now, the parks are already being rented out. Like if you wanted to, for example, rent out like a facility to have a wedding.
Sure, if you're talking about a specific hall or something like that. But my taxpayer dollars already go towards parks and stuff like that. So if I want to go walk my dog, I don't have to pay to do that. If I want to go fly a kite at Alban Park, nobody's going to charge me to do that. And the same thing goes with my tax dollars towards individual schools. I already pay for those recreational activities. So you would say that you guys would be open to doing it if there was a fee involved, a usage fee?
No, I'm sorry. Are you talking like for the multi-purpose rooms, like the gymnasiums and all that?
I mean the recreational equipment, right?
Okay, then if you're looking at a building, then I would see, there would be a taxation on that, or a small fee on that. But I'm not talking like a huge fee. I'm talking a fee that is going to help keep in the upkeep of the building.
So if my kids want to go play soccer or go play on the
field, it should be open. On the outdoor equipment and field should be open to the public already as it is.
Okay. One of the things that goes really undiscussed at length, is particularly when it comes to the public corruption scandal, is the number of people that were school board officials that were involved in the public corruption scandal. No one in the world is ever going to say, yes, I would take a bribe. My question is that if you were approached, what actions would you take?
That's what we just discussed this past week when a couple of the constituents asked me what were to happen if a city representative came to me and told me to do something a certain way or to do so. And I told them flat out that I would be the first one to back down. As far as backing out, I mean, I want to be able to sleep well at night knowing that I'm representing my constituents, and by taking any type of bribe or taking any form of income or anything else from contractors or anything would be not in my list.
Another question I have for you is, there was a bill that was recently going through the legislature by State Representative Marisa Marquez that is going to compel school board candidates to have their campaign finance reporting posted online so that folks can see that those documents. What do you think about that?
If you have anything to hide, what's wrong with that? I mean, I feel that right now, like I have my bank account, I have to submit all my documentation. If it's legal, why would it be a problem?
Who are your biggest supporters?
Right now, I just have the constituents in the area. I mean, I've met with different foundations and organizations, but nobody has said anything yet.
Okay. If you had a final message to voters, you're on a doorstep, what do you tell them?
That my incumbent was right, that our District 3 has not been represented properly for the past few years. We've had candidates leave. We've had candidates, go through different scandals. We've had candidates, not representing our district. And the one thing that I would say is that I'm not here I wouldn't be running as someone who's biased towards, my child's in this school, so my child should have the best education. I'm looking at it as a taxpayer like everybody else and saying, what are we doing wrong? What's going wrong in our district? I feel that education is the key, and we should keep our schools open. We should look at other avenues versus, firing teachers or laying off librarians. We should look at avenues as how can we better our school system. Right now, one of the main things is the tax testing. They keep saying that the tax test is our schools are exemplar, our schools are recognized, our schools are going to be blue ribbon, but yet when the kids get out of school, what happens to them? I just received a document from EPCC that stated from 2007 to 2009, 93% of our kids could not pass their acupuncture test, which means that 93% of those kids were placed into lower math classes, which means that that's going to cost them more money and cost them an extra year of college. 2010's level wasn't even that great. We were at 54% because the EPCC, UTEP, and EPIC, along with 11 other districts, signed a contract which basically lowered our standards of education.
What do you? Why should voters pick you over the incumbent?
He's been there a year already. He wasn't voted in, or he wasn't elected by the constituents. I think that the constituents have a lot to say, and they have a lot of feelings about what's going on. I feel for one that we need to listen to what's going on. I was at Bliss Elementary this past week, and they were having a meeting about their principal, electing a new principal for their district, or for their school. And Mr. Borrego stepped in and started with the policy of the board that the superintendent is the one that does the hiring and firing of principals in the district. But yet the whole time the people, the parents and the school were saying they wanted to have some type of meeting with those candidates to find out, are they going to be the right ones for that school. Instead of listening, I feel that it was more of this is how the policy is and this is how it's going to be. And these parents were the ones that want to make sure that their children have that stability in their school.
Do you feel the parents qualified to make a hiring decision like that?
I feel that they have a say in what goes on in their school. They do have a say, but as far as qualifications, the recommendation would go towards the board and towards the superintendent, and they can at least say this principal knows what he or she is doing. Last year, the three principals they've gone through in the past, have either moved on or moved up. And they want someone who wants to be an elementary school principal, not someone who has, who wants a higher schooling as far as going from elementary to middle school. They want someone who's going to be consistent in their grades. They want to have them there for 3, 4, 5 years, not versus 1 year or a couple months.
You had mentioned being pretty firm about not having cuts in the classroom. As relates to funding. How about extracurricular activities? What are your thoughts on that?
Extracurricular activities such as
sports, fine arts.
Well, I think that anything we take away from the kids is only punishing them. They wanted to cut back on the freshman team, and they wanted to move the one thing I probably would say would be partial beneficial would be to move the graduations from UTEP to their home school, which is where they received their 4 years of education. That would be probably one of the most beneficial things. But moving a Friday night game to Saturday or the afternoon, is it going to cut back that much on what we're spending? And that's only basically hurting the children. They're the ones that have worked that hard to get into that area. And if we do cut back on sports, we're also looking at how is that going to affect that child in education wise. They have to have that passing grade to play that game, and if there's nothing there to encourage them, what's going to happen with their grades?
Mr. Reyes, last question now. What do you think about technology in the classroom?
Oh, that's a great question. Technology, I feel, is probably one of the key roles in educating our children. We have computers now that are more readily available. We have our internet systems that have been updated in the schools. We have new whiteboards that the teachers can use with the computers, and I feel that education is ever changing, and that our children now are actually more technologically advanced than when we were back in the day. I took a computer math in high school, and I gotta tell you, I was working in the DOS program versus working with MS or Excel now, what the kids are doing. I think that with technology on the rise, we have to try to keep up with the ever-changing technological advances. Our workforce right now, we're at an unemployment rate of 10%, and the main reason is because the candidates that are going into those positions are not qualified enough to do the technological work that's needed. It's estimated by 2020 we're going to have 123 million jobs available in technology, where only 50 some million of those jobs will only be able to be filled by Americans. So we have a lot of them going overseas because those overseas are more technologically advanced than the United States right now, which is something I feel that we need to really keep up on.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Like I said, no, that's pretty much it. I mean,
right, thanks a lot.